See that? See, that could end multiple ways. There's actually two ways that could actually end. There's the first way where I'd be on the recipient of a never-ending list of questioning from my wife asking me if I'm fully committed to her. And two, I would be the victim of a temporary restraining order where I would be asked to stay away as far as 500 miles away from Mr. Reilly. I love my wife. I love watching football games. I love going to football games, and so I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. So there's context to this because this was in response to a previous trade tree, most specifically the one in regards to Vernon Adams Jr. And they wanted me to do the trade tree involving Mike Reilly in 2013. Now, truth be told, I did actually want to do the Mike Reilly trade, and I just didn't see that it had any legs. There wasn't any entertainment value, and I wasn't going to do it early on, but somewhere down the road. So, no time like the present, right? Well, there's also more context because I've done multiple trade trees involving the BC Lions and quarterbacks, and it turns out that as good as a recruiter and quarterback developer that Wally Buono is, his assets of what he gets for said quarterbacks is not exactly the greatest. Yeah, he's won the Grey Cup with Travis Lule. He brought Jonathan Jennings, which turned out to be a dud. Let's take a quick look into what Wally Buono has done with trades involving quarterbacks since 2011. Well, there's Kevin Glenn. We all know what he did. Yeah, it was a very good deal for BC, but it only lasted 1 year. In that trade that we've already talked about, the Ottawa Redblacks got themselves the Grey Cup championship. And I'd say that they won that one. In 2016, well, we already dealt with the Vernon Adams Jr. They ended up with a year and a bit of Danny Vandervoort, and he got released. So what did they do with Mike Reilly? Did they get anything out of it, or was it just a long list of trades where BC fails to get anything for a quarterback? Well, for episode 13, we're going to take a look at the Mike Reilly trade, and without any further ado, let's get to the trade tree. The initial trade saw the Edmonton Football Club acquiring the rights to Mike Reilly and a second-round pick in 2013. In exchange, the BC Lions got a second-round pick in 2013 and a second-round pick in 2014. Now, again, context is the word of the day here. And you're thinking, well, why did Mike Reilly only get 2 second-round picks? I've seen Kevin Glenn get a first. 2013, Mike Reilly wasn't a household name. He wasn't the hat-wearing gunslinger that we know him to be right now. He was a guy with potential, and he's obviously met and then some that potential. But at this time, he was a free agent, so Edmonton didn't want to risk the farm for him. And that second-round pick that went with Mike Reilly, that was kind of like a collateral kind of thing. That was compensation, just in the event that Edmonton wasn't able to put pen to paper. Well, at this point, it worked out well for Edmonton, but let's see how it worked out for BC. The 2014 second-round pick, which was 12th overall, ended up being used on offensive lineman TJ Player. Very good hyped offensive lineman coming out of college, had all the tools, and just couldn't put it together. Trivia note in this trade tree, TJ Player actually leads all players outside of Mike Reilly with touchdown receptions. Yeah, 1. After his stint with BC, he was released, bounced along with a couple of CFL teams, and because he was released, that branch ends right there. The second round pick in 2013 was used to select receiver SJ Hedera. Again, a lot of tools, a lot of potential, a lot of hype matching around this receiver coming out of East. But in BC, just wasn't really to put it into all-star caliber seasons. In 2014, he was traded to the Hamilton Tiger Cats in exchange for a 5th round pick in 2015. The BC Lions used that to select defensive lineman Christian Covington, who bounced around the NFL on practice rosters, currently with the Cincinnati Bengals at this time. And because of that, this is currently open, but I don't anticipate him coming up north. But, as we're going to see in the other side of this trade tree, never say never. Speaking of which, let's go to the Edmonton side of things. The 2013 second-round pick was actually packaged with the rights to Hassan Hazim, sent to the Hamilton Tiger Cats in exchange for a second-round pick in 2013, which was 10th overall, and a 24th overall in 2013. The 24th overall pick was used to select linebacker Kyle Norris. It is a depth player that actually wasn't anticipated to make the starter's role, and he did it. In his 8 games with Edmonton, he had racked up 5 special teams tackles, was released in 2014, and it signed on with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for a handful of games, and because of that branch ends there. The second round pick, the 10th overall pick in 2013, the Edmonton Eskimos Football Club used that selection to use defensive lineman Stephan Charles. And Stephan Charles had NFL aspirations at the time. As we're talking about on the other side with Christian Covington, that's still open. But as of September of 2019, Stephan Charles actually put pen to paper with the Edmonton Football Club and didn't play any games or any snaps in 2019, but probably should in 2021, should and if the CFL returns this year. Mike Reilly. This trade, this asset alone is probably worth the two second round picks that they shipped back to BC, and the fact that Edmonton still has a second round asset out of this trade tree means they won. Clearly they won. Edmonton, in the 6 years with Edmonton with Mike Reilly at the helm, 52-32 record over the 6-year span, making the playoffs 4 out of the 6 years. The first year was an experiment just to put Mike Reilly through the tests. In the last year, it just didn't work out, and that's when he signed on with a contract with a free agent with the BC Lions. But those other years, when they made the playoffs, 5-3 in the playoffs, including the road to the Grey Cup in 2015 with the Grey Cup championship. Oh, you want more? I could put this into consideration. In the 3 years that Mike Reilly actually played all 18 games, Mike Reilly passed for over 5,500 yards. That's a big deal. Oh, you want more? In 2017, Mike Reilly was not only the CFL Western Divisional All-Star, he was also the CFL All-Star. And had it not been for a guy by the name of Bo Levi Mitchell, probably would have racked up more awards like that in the previous seasons and after the fact. In 2017, he was also named the CFL's Most Outstanding Player, and let's not forget the 2015 Grey Cup MVP. This trade, this one asset makes this trade livable for Edmonton, given the fact that they lost him to free agency a couple of years ago. But let's not forget the fact that they still have an asset as part of this trade tree in the name of Stephan Charles. What does BC have to sell for this? Absolutely nothing, and they didn't get anything out of the fact that they had 7 games, 7 catches for 77 yards for SJ Hidara, and their asset that they got for that has not played a CFL game at this time. If you think I missed something, hit the comment below. If you really like what you saw, hit subscribe. If you have any future suggestions for any future trade trees, hit them up on Twitter. I can be reached at Rouge Dalts, my podcast at Rouge Radio. And of course, this video is proudly sponsored and powered by the Canadian Football Podcast Network. You can reach them at CF Pod Network on Twitter.